that part that I just played went something like this. So 5th fret to 7th fret, back to the 5th fret. You can do a pull off if you can manage that, where it smooths out the transition between the 7th fret note E and the 5th fret note D. I like to do that. It's not mandatory. It's just something I thought sounded good. So I made that legato. I made that a pull off. Using my first finger again in this case, and I hit the 3rd fret C. You can see I tend to vibrato that note. I like to get a little expression out of that one. And that was simply 2nd fret and open. So kind of easy. This very naturally in A minor sits on the ukulele. We don't have to go way out of our way to play this stuff. And then finally the last bit before the 3rd part of the song goes, oh, and when you do that with your voice, you hit those 2 notes, you glide up to the 2nd note. You can imitate that sound on the ukulele by doing a slide. See that? And then Star of Wonder, Star of Bright, that next bit is the 3rd and final part of the song. Let's find those notes. It's really just 2 different pitches. It's a C, 3rd fret A string, and a G, which can be 3rd fret E string or 4th string open. That's a nice way to do it if you want that campanella sound. Campanella meaning little bells, and we're trying to make the strings ring together. The whole campanella aesthetic of guitar playing and ukulele playing is so that notes ring together. You don't have a clear separation between the notes. They kind of crowd into each other a little bit and run over into each other, which can be a nice sound. It's a harp-like sound, and there's some great ukulele players out there doing stuff in that campanella style. Samantha Muir being one of the foremost, but of course James Hill and Jake Shimabukuro and lots of folks doing it. So we're almost done. We have come close to the end of the tune. It goes. Now we're going to finish it up with. A lot of repetition there, a lot of things we already did. It just recapitulates them for this final part of the tune. And you're going to find that with music. Music isn't always a new chord every measure and a new set of notes every measure. There's going to be a certain amount of repetition. Music just likes to seem to work that way, and we like to hear that. We like repetition. It's just something that pleases us aesthetically. And so you're not always going to have different notes and different chords. So expect a certain amount of repetition. All right, again, here's that part. All on the A string, with the exception of I did do the Star of Wonder. I did that G note we talked about as kind of a campanella sound. You can go either way. When I do an arrangement like this, I might do it a certain way the first time around, and maybe the second time around I do it a different way, just to mix things up. All right, let's explore where all these notes are. I played them for you, but let's talk about how you can play them. So Star of Wonder, Star of Bright, we talked about that. Beauty, Bright, and then Westward Leading, Still Proceeding. That little bit goes like this. See that? We're going from 3rd fret to 5th fret, 7th fret, and now these notes we used earlier with that Segovia fingering, that's 10th fret, 8th fret, 7th fret. Sits really nicely on the ukulele, very convenient fingering there. And then that was 5th fret, 7th fret, back to the 5th, 3rd, 1st, open. You can finger that a lot of different ways. I did use my first finger a lot that time, but you know, there are other ways where you can use your second and your pinky and your first. Work it out. Figure out what works best for you. Um, I know sometimes people are uncomfortable with different options and not having strict rules, but I am not that kind of teacher, as you've noticed. I like to leave some things open for you to decide. You can make your own decisions here. We're all adults, or if you're not an adult yet, you're learning to be an adult by making some of your own decisions and not always being told what to do necessarily. As long as you play the right notes, we do need to be faithful to the composition. We're not going to be changing the notes and doing crazy stuff with it, or else it's a different tune. You have your own tune inspired by We Three Kings, but it wouldn't actually be We Three Kings if we didn't accurately play the melody. All right, let's check out what chords we have under this. Well, obviously it's in A minor, so the first chord's going to be in A minor. And then we have an E minor. And then A minor. Although, you know, there's so many variations. I talked about this in the last video. E minor is the one that lots of people use, but E7, just a lot of people use E7 too. And I tend to be in that camp. I like this on the E7 there better. All right, so A minor, E7, A minor. We repeat that. We went over all of that in the last video, the chords, so I'm not going to belabor that point. I'll just assume that you've watched that and you have a song sheet in front of you and know what the chords are. So I'm not going to repeat myself there. But let's look at how I put the chords and the melody together. This gets into up the neck chords. Let's look at some. So instead of traditional A minor way back here on the 2nd fret, the one that most people learn first, let's check out a variation of that. We have a nice A minor sitting here, and this would be X. You don't play your G string, but then you play 4, 5, 3. That's a nice little 3-note voicing that doesn't require a bar, and it's not too scary of an up the neck chord. It's a lot like a G minor that you play at the open position, but now we're at the 3rd fret. Just don't hit that open G string or it really changes it. All right, so that's a beautiful A minor. You could do the fully fingered way of doing that, and you would include the G string, and that would be 5, 4, 5, 3. I know some of my students have a little trouble with this fingering, but if you just keep at it, you'll get it. It's a pretty valuable fingering, but I do know that it's a little difficult. It's not the most immediate plop your fingers right on the chord type of chord. It takes practice. It takes working on that muscle memory to get this unusual shape down. There's another variation of that. In case you didn't already have enough A minors, check this one out. You'll see this in a lot of old ukulele method books from the 1920s and the 1930s and way back then. I have a collection of old music books, including old ukulele method books from that era. And you see this fingering a lot in those. This goes like this. It is 5, 4, 5, 7. A little hard, a little stretchy, but that's the one I use in my chord melody arrangement that I'll be showing you in the 3rd version of this video. So if you work at that 5, 4, 5, 7 fingering, you'll get it. It's just going to take some practice. All right, and finally we have a nice voicing of A minor way up here at the 7th fret. This is a 3-note one. We exclude the G string, and we only play, in this case, X9, 8, 7. Yeah, X9, 8, 7. It's a nice, easy to grab little A minor. If you do include the G string, you get an A minor 7 or a C6. Beautiful chord, love that one, but that's just probably not the most appropriate sound for this song. Although you can reharmonize songs. You can take a song and change the chords a little bit, and jazz people do that all the time. So it's possible, but I would stick with just a plain old A minor, which you X out the G string. All right, and finally, the 4-finger version of that same A minor goes like this. It goes 9, 9, 8, 7. Kind of hard when you play a small ukulele like this little Ko Aloha concert here. You got to cram your fingers into that very small space. It's really hard, but it can be done. So if you have little fingers, you have an advantage in this case. You can fit them into that small space. So obviously the 3-finger version is accessible to most people without getting cramps in your fingers like that. All right, so lots of A minors out there in the world.